Hello everybody, this is another Muffin for the Win broadcast, bringing to you here a game on Metalopolis between Kiwikaki as the Protoss player, spawning here at the top right, and spawning here at the 12 o'clock position is VirusSatiini. We'll just be calling him Virus for the sake of time.
Now, one thing we have to notice is that this is Metalopolis. Now, this map is pretty balanced in TVP, but one thing we have to notice is that it is air position right now. So if Terran does enter the mid game and start using medevacs, that is something that Protoss has to keep in the back of the mind. And keep in mind, once it hits mid game, the Terran may start attacking the third while simultaneously doing drops in the main at the same time. As you can see, the distance between the third and the main in Zonaga is quite far to defend drops against from Terran.
Yeah, definitely that'll be interesting to see how Terran will incorporate the spawn position into his play. But of course, this is a standard Metalopolis game on the ladder, so it's not like MLG Metalopolis where you can only spawn cross position in close air. So there is a chance of spawning close pause as well, but of course they are currently not spawning close positions.
Now, Protoss is opening 13 gate, and he just chrono boosted one more time, so it will be a 13 gate, I guess. I actually was hoping for a 14 gate, as we are not seeing that as much anymore. We're in beta where everyone was trying either 11 to 15 gates right now, but eventually everyone just realized that 13 gate was the best build to go against Terran and Zerg. Now, Terran is opening standard right now and actually getting a gas, so we are definitely not going to be seeing any kind of Marine all-in or a 1-Rax FE. Now, the most standard build that Terran will transition into is probably the 2-Rax FE, where he pressures with Marauders and Marines while taking expansion at the same time. Now, one particular thing to notice is that Protoss actually did not scout yet, so he doesn't know the position of the Terran, nor does he know what the Terran is doing right now. This is kind of risky, but I guess Virus isn't known for any kind of cheesy play right now.
Yeah, and interesting that Virus actually did is he scouted close air position first, so that's actually a really unique scouting pattern because you generally tend to scout close position first.
Now, if the Kiwikaki wasn't weird and actually scouted at around a normal time, the close position scout would have arrived in the Terran space right now. But apparently Terran probably just took the risk that probably wasn't close positions. Now, one thing we actually are not sure of is whether this replay is actually from ladder or just from a practice game. So we can't actually ensure if it's definitely from ladder, as this is an MLG Metalopolis. As you can see, Protoss is actually scouting close positions right now. Now, Protoss is getting a second gas, but only has, I think, he only has 2 probes on the gas right now. So Protoss definitely isn't actually looking towards any DT or Stargate kind of play right now. Probably getting that second gas just to have enough protection against either Banshees or 3-Rax pressure. Now, one thing to notice about Terran is that he's not getting a second barracks, but instead getting a second refinery right now. So most likely Terran will be getting an expansion and then a factory, or a factory first and then an expansion.
Yeah, actually an interesting thing is he has only 2 harvesters on both gas. I'm pretty sure this is not a mistake because Kiwikaki will most likely not do this mistake, and he has it on both gases, so it's actually going to be an interesting 3-gate build, most likely a 3-gate FE of some sort. And if we look over here, the Terran player is pressuring through the center of the map.
Now, this is really smart by Terran right now, and if he gets lucky, he might actually intercept this first sentry and the first zealot, as concussive shell is done already. And this is horrible for the Protoss, losing that first sentry without doing anything, and a zealot without probably not even killing this marine right now. Now, luckily for the Protoss, he does have 3 gateways up, so he will not lose to a possible counterattack or anything. Now, as you can see, even though the Protoss is behind, he's still warping in a proxy pylon at the natural. A 3-gate FE, even though it's more commonly known against Zerg, is one of my favorite builds to do against Terran, simply because of the fact that you can contain them so long at the ramp with their sentries while taking your own expansion and simply just backing out. Now, one thing I noticed is that the Terran is not going to be greedy killing this wolf statue, and actually might try to focus down a Stalker, but good micro by Kiwikaki, actually going to lose that Stalker due to concussive shells being finishing right now. Now, Terran is getting a bunker up, so he is definitely not planning to expand anytime soon, and actually getting 2 bunkers up, so we might actually see the armory is actually up right now, so we are definitely going to be seeing an interesting type of Thor play from the Terran player right now. And Terran is actually pulling off 5 SCVs to probably see if there's any kind of 4-gate or 3-gate from the Protoss right now, as he did see those 3 Stalkers push out right now, and he is being cautious and leaving a few SCVs at his ramp right now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that he's actually choosing the Thor Rush, but it definitely has a chance of being fairly powerful because Kiwikaki does not have a robotics bay up yet or a starport. I mean Stargate. And if we look over here, Kiwikaki is taking his natural expansion and will most likely be containing the Terran player because I do not believe he will actually be able to break this bunker due to the constant repair and his Thor coming out momentarily.
Now, this is why I do like this build, simply because if Terran is getting units and expanding, you can simply just contain them like he is right now. But if Terran does tech like right now, you can simply just put on pressure, kill a few SCVs like he did right now. But the important thing to notice is that the Protoss did see the Thor right now, so he will be prepared for any kind of Thor all-in right now. And as you can see, the Terran is pulling off SCVs right now to let this Thor survive. And is he going to get the Thor? Chances are that he will get the Thor. So Terran is incredibly behind right now. As if we look at the income tab, it is 29 harvesters to 19, and Protoss is almost 7 times ahead in the income right now due to the SCVs being pulled off. Now, one interesting thing to notice is that the Protoss actually canceled the Nexus at the natural, as he knows that the Terran has completely no follow-up to this. Even though he is building a command center, chances are that Terran will not be able to successfully enter the mid game with a good economy right now.
Yeah, definitely. Also, the Protoss player is getting out Immortals. He did cancel that expansion, of course, and he actually chrono boosted all his warp gates for a short period of time because he was stockpiling chrono boost, and he resumed putting three probes in each assimilator. And it looks like Protoss player is pushing up the ramp, doing a little aggressive poke.
Now, one thing I noticed was that even though he did lose an army there, he didn't actually ever attack the bunker. He focused down every single SCV that was repairing it, as now it is 31 harvesters to 16. And the most important factor of that is that when he went up the ramp, he simply saw the command center, and as you can see, he is expanding himself. Very good transitions from the Protoss at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really smart move by Kiwikaki. And if we look over here, Virus is actually wondering what can he do. He is fairly contained over here with Kiwikaki's unit at his natural, and his expansion is now finished, but he would not be able to send it to his natural, so the only thing he will be able to do is use that extra orbital command center to continue making SCVs and using it for meals. And if we look over here, Kiwikaki is continuing to make, actually it's not continuing to make Immortals because he does need to observe it out just in case of any Banshee play.
Now, Immortals would be actually pretty crucial at the moment. As we can see, Terran is only making Thors and Marauders, the only thing that's armored. Now, one thing to notice is that the Terran is actually getting stim pack. This is noting that he will transition into a bio army in mid-game. And now he is getting a second barracks and a starport right now, as one of the things he could do is one of those Thor drops that we used to see in a lot of beta. And this medevac will actually let the Terran probably distract the Protoss so he can take his natural. Now, Protoss's natural is already going to be fully up and kicking, so he is even going to be more ahead of the Terran's shattered economy right now.
Yeah, definitely. If a counterattack were to occur by the Terran player, the Protoss player will be able to actually hold it off with his 3 Immortals just now, and continuing to make Warp in Zealots non-stop.
Now, the thing is, letting the Terran know that there's always units outside his natural is kind of playing mind games on the Terran, even though it has only been just a couple of stalkers outside his base up the whole time. Now the Terran does know that the Protoss was just faking him out the entire time, therefore we can see that he's not actually rushing to throw up bunkers anytime soon right at the moment. Now the Protoss is throwing down a robotics bay, so he will be transitioning into an Immortal play, into Colossus play after getting these 3 Immortals out to hold off any kind of possible one-base throw all-ins, which he now knows that it's not going to be a one-base transition from the Terran player.
Yeah, definitely. We see here Satini Virus is actually getting out more barracks and continuing to just make them Marines and Marauders and Thors, actually. Getting out a medevac as well.
Now, Muffin, do you think that the Protoss will take a third anytime soon, or should he just take his economic advantage and simply try to out-macro the Terran on 2 base right now?
I actually think he will do just that, but of course Kiwikaki is actually very well prepared for a future drop and getting out Colossi with external thermal lances. I wouldn't be surprised if Kiwikaki actually choose to get out a third right now because he does have a small amount of map control from...
Now, if we look at the army size, Kiwikaki is definitely ahead by about 20 supply right now, and he is getting thermal lance And if we look at the Terran, he is not actually getting any Vikings right now. So if we can get a few Colossi out and Terran cannot get Vikings out in time, it's definitely game over for the Terran at the moment. Now if you look at the Terran's natural, the units are actually pretty well spread at the moment. So he is preparing for any kind of attack that the Protoss might possibly do right at the moment. He's continuing to scan the Protoss' natural, only seeing the Robo Bay that he has already seen a few minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like VirusSatiini virus is pushing out in the out the middle of the map, and is going to be doing an all-in push basically because he will not be able to regenerate or reproduce this army because he's incredibly behind from that earlier attack. Let's see if this push will actually work in his favor.
Now there is no 250mm cannons. That would be huge right now if he did, as the Immortals would not do so much damage. And if he gets lucky, probably snipe the Colossus. Now Protoss is trying to stall until Thermal Lance finishes right now, and this is about 80% done. Now, it does look like Terran is just simply trying to set up a contain, but as soon as this Thermal Lance finishes, the contain will not work, but instead Protoss is just simply trying to go in at the moment and getting the kill, pulling off almost all his probes in the natural, as he knows that this is an all-in from the Protoss player. There are no Guardians, are no Force Fields getting thrown up at the moment, and they are simply useless against the Thors. But it does look like the Terran will have to tap out here, as the Protoss' army is completely superior to it.
Yeah, an incredibly one-sided game played by Kiwikaki. Although Kiwikaki lost those initial Zealot Sentry in the beginning of the game, he was able to get his Warp Gate research up and hold off and actually kill that Marauder that was being overly aggressive, pushing out in the middle of the map and trying to do a poke up the ramp.
Now, one thing many Protossers do have to start doing now is just simply attacking the Terran, even though they have bunkers, without doing a 4-gate. Many Protossers simply neglect the fact that, even though they're not on 4 gates, the Terran is simply teching too hard, and can easily just either kill the bunker or do a lot of economical damage. In this case, killing the first Thor, which is huge in a 1-base Thor build, and multiple SCVs.
Yeah, I definitely do not like the build that Terran actually showed off today, because it's definitely incredibly risky, as we saw there, and incredibly sets you behind if it does not work.
Now, I think this will be concluding the broadcast today. I hope you enjoyed this game between Kiwikaki against Virus.
Goodbye.